Hi there, it's me, Marcia. It happens to be the Jewish New Year 2020, and I got this inkling that it would be fun to share a teaching story of mine about how I learned tzedakah. And the story is short. I hope you can listen, and I hope you'll enjoy. It was a hot August afternoon in my 15th year. My Grandma Celia, who I called Gar, had been in Wichita visiting our family. Now I'd been invited to travel back with her to Chicago for a week. With my parents' blessing, we boarded the train for a long trip with hours of special time to be together. Grandma, a beautiful woman in her early 50s, was casually but smartly attired. Raised in Poland in a very poor family, she'd been fortunate to marry well after immigrating with her family to Kansas. Her first husband, my grandfather Ben, had become a successful entrepreneur, a grocer in Wichita's early cowtown days. Years after his death, she'd remarried a well-to-do and somewhat miserly attorney. They now resided in Skokie, in the suburbs. Gar had told me stories about her childhood days, especially about how her mother taught her tzedakah, a Hebrew word that translates as both righteousness and charity. Grandma was writing a book about her bustling, big-hearted mother, with a big family to feed, yet whose tiny purse was always opened to help a neighbor in need. We didn't know it yet, Gar and me, but today's train ride would pass the tzedakah legacy on to me. Our passenger car was virtually unoccupied. The only other riders were a mother and her two kids, a pubescent boy and his little sister. They were seated to our immediate right. We could tell from their clothing they were not well off. Grandma whispered she'd like to give our neighbor family a little gelt, a little money, but she murmured, I wouldn't want to embarrass them. An hour passed. The boy was complaining now to his mom that he was getting hungry. Why don't we all go to the club car, find some crackers, she suggested, maybe buy some milk? Here was the awaited opportunity for Grandma Celia's generosity. When the coast was clear, the family had gone, she got out her purse and pulled out a crisp $20 bill, a lot of money in those days. She hurried across the aisle, planting the money underneath their seat, sure that it would be found when the family returned. Well, there we sat, two conspirators, anxiously anticipating the return of the unsuspecting threesome. A long half-hour passed before we saw them coming back to their seats. I held my breath. For an instant it seemed the boy had spotted the stowaway bill, but to our dismay, they all just sat back down in their seats, none the wiser. Whatever would we do now? Well, the wheels were spinning in Gar's head. She nudged me and whispered, I've got another idea. Rising up from her seat, she announces, I'm going to go to the ladies' room, honey. I'll be right back. What was she up to? Absent for about 5 minutes, upon returning to her seat, Gar paused, looked over at our poor neighboring family, peering underneath the son's seat. Oh, is that money? She exclaimed, pointing and feigning surprise. The boy jumped up, looked, He found the bill that Grandma had secretly planted there. "Mommy, looky, look!" he cried in glee. However, to Gar's further dismay, his mother replied, "Son, I'm sorry, but that's not our money." Turning to my grandma, she said, "Ma'am, did you lose a $20 bill?" "Oh my, no. I haven't opened up my purse at all during this trip," my actor's grandmother assured. "Finders keepers. It's yours to keep now." I was smiling as big as a barn that day, maybe even more than our fortunate neighboring travelers. I was so happy for them and for tzedakah, proud to be with my mentor. Here was a tale and a teaching I could cherish my whole life. So the world certainly needs all the tzedakah we can muster. And a plug for my memoir from last year. I've got a new one I'm getting ready to publish, but Iron Jane, Tales of Awakening a Wild Heart. It's one of the first stories in this collection. Thank you. May your day-to-day be a delight. May the year ahead, however you chart it, be full of blessings. And thank you very much for being in my life and having listened to my story. See you soon. Bye for now.